Molliver to Urksa. Urksa making a move to Maltz. Game over! Maryland wins it! 14-13. They just survive.
Hello, College Lacrosse Game Day fans. Thank you for coming back for yet another episode of our show. We have a lot to get to, including an unbelievable interview with Max Rosa. It was a privilege just to ask him questions and listen. Excited for you to hear it as well. Some awesome games to recap as well as cover this coming week.
Holden getting underneath. Maltz, great catch by Bernhardt. Score! Hello, highlight reel.
Play like a champion today. Notre Dame with its first title in men's lacrosse.
Friday, March 8th. Richmond has 8 legs, but they beat UMBC by 9, 13-4 Spiders.
Saturday, March 9th, starting with the night game, the Orange were sweeter than juice. They beat number 2 Hopkins 14-13 in Charlotte. Question for Coach Gate, is that slick back or pushback?
Colgate opens the floodgates on Lafayette, and the Leopards float down the lazy river 16-10 Raiders.
Without a single assist and 16 saves from Pecora, Lee higher by Creed makes blind men see. They beat Navy 12-10.
Loyola gets cold and falls to Duke, who was running hot, 16-10.
You think you're swag? I'm Swagner, says Rudy Zarate with 14 saves for the Seahawks. Huge upset over Marist, 9-8.
The Quinnipiac Bobcats can Canisius, 14-7. Mason Oak had 16 saves.
Down 10-5, under 6 minutes left. High Point couldn't get the tie point, but they were close. Jacksonville wins 10-9.
Vermont's Charlie Pope had the green light, 5 goals on 17 shots. The Drip King dropped the draws, going 16 of 20. Vermont 13, UMass 12.
16 saves for Carroll. The Quakers put pen to paper. They beat Villanova 11-8.
UNC kicks their heels up on spring break and cruise by Hofstra 21-9.
A chippy one in New York's capital. Braden Ballhog was the difference in the fourth quarter. Danes 14, Hobart 10.
Boston battles Bucknell and wins 13-3. D'Alto and Perfetto were perfecto. They combined for 14.
Virginia's attack combines for 23 points, and Coach Lars eats Mars bars in his car on the way home after beating Towson 19-50.
A hearty win for the Sacred. The Pios handed to Siena 18-10.
Fried Seawolf was the Saturday night special at LaBelle Stadium, cooked by Chris Cusolito in overtime. Providence 13, Stony Brook 12.
Oh, hi, no luck against the Irish. The Buckeyes lose 13-10 to Notre Dame.
We're going to need a bigger boat, says VMI. They couldn't handle the Sharks of LIU 17-8 final. 7 goals for Zuhowski.
NJIT, a.k.a. not just inside 10, but 13 goals over Lindenwood. They're 7-0.
The Stags were 14-point bucks Saturday. They beat Lowell big 14-6.
Gluttony by the Nittany Lions as Penn State indulges 20-9 over Cornell.
Cleveland State outground balls the Bonnies 42-27 and doubles them in shots, securing the 10-8 senior day victory.
Mateo Corsi needed Morsi. Browns 0-5 and Maryland stayed alive 14-13. It was Maltz in overtime.
Biggest win for St. John since 2021 in their opener against Hofstra. They beat a struggling Binghamton team 13-6.
Bell, are you kidding mine? The Knights defeat Marquette 11-5.
Even a Holy Cross check can't stop Army. I continue to get emotional watching them compete. They win 18-8.
The Hens fly as the Hawks laid an egg. Delaware 16, Monmouth 7.
Sunday, March 10th, the Crimson off to their best start since 1990, improving to 6-0, beating Michigan 13-11. Jerry Byrne, cheap bastard, but defensive genius.
The mountains are certainly high enough for St. Mary. Manhattan doubles Mount 12-6.
Second Division I victory for Lemoyne, 10-6 over Mercer. 10 Dolphins record a point.
The Tigers rough up Rutgers 18-8. McAfee had 5 for Princeton.
According to Coach Shea, Yale beats the Flu and Denver 6-15-13. 8 ties and 4 lead changes before the Bulldogs break the leash.
St. Joe slays the Drexel Dragons by the smite of 9 goals, 15-6.
Tuesday, March 12th, the High Point Panthers punished the Pirates with a punctuation, 19 players with points. They beat Hampton 27-5.
Sweet Carolina made Wagner look like bums. 18-4, McGovern had 8 points.
17-5 victory for the Spider-Men over Bucknell. 2 big games against Duke and Georgetown before beginning A-10 play.
Bon appetit, says the Bonnies as they feast on Canisius 12-8.
Closer than the Buckeyes likely expected, maybe showing some mercy on Detroit. They win 16-10.
Wednesday, March 13th, we eagerly await the score of Duke at Providence.
Awesome. Great games from week one. We're just kind of shooting the shit, talking a little bit about the games in Charlotte, specifically Hopkins Syracuse, which was a phenomenal lacrosse game. Not taking anything away from the performance there, but discouraging as a lover of the game just to see in the backdrop an empty grandstand. There were a lot of fans there. They're just not on the screen, and you can't see it. And I think it's discouraging as someone who wants this game to grow, knowing people are flipping the channel to a lacrosse game with empty seats. A phenomenal lacrosse game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the biggest games of the year. And turn it on, like you kind of hit on a little bit earlier, off camera. But it's like if you're not a fan of lacrosse and you turn that game on and you don't really know what's going on, you don't really know the circumstance of this game, and you see an empty stadium, it's just like, oh, well, this isn't important. But it is.
Dude, I'm watching these March Madness conference tournament games going to March Madness. When I see some of those lower tier ones and I see nobody in the stands, I'm going to a different game. I've been doing that. It's just like natural. If you're not a fan of the sport per se, and you go to a channel and there's just like empty seats, you're like, why do I want to watch this? Why do I want to waste my time watching this?
I mean, you could think about if it was in the JMA Dome, like the superiority
Or
of the viewership,
Well,
Homewood.
or either.
Homewood, even though at the JMA Dome, if you've been to a game there, you know that more fans sit in the side that they broadcast from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
Why would they
Well, it's also a dome.
Well, some of
right?
it's out of control for sure, but
Yeah, it's wherever the press box is, and like you can't really flip that in a lot of stadiums. But why don't you just have the people sit on the other side of the stadium?
That, or you have those people down on the
Right.
turf. You
Yes.
have those people down
Yes.
on the field who show that they always have those close-ups,
Yeah.
right? Those people should just be fucking panning to the stands
Yeah.
Yeah.
to where the people are.
Right.
Yeah, or have more people field level, like at Arlotta for the Notre Dame games. Like the grandstand is full, but on the far side is that hill,
Right, you
which is
see-
packed,
Yeah.
and it looks like
sick.
it looks like the Super
They'll
Bowl.
show the grandstand too, though, when they score. They'll show. But regardless, I mean, it was still a great game. You're talking 14-13 game between two top 10 teams. And, I mean, I think that this was overdue for Cuse. I mean, they lost some tight ones against some really good teams. It was overdue. It was coming that they were going to beat a top 10 team, a top 15 team, and they did it, and they did it in a solid game. So, congrats, Cuse. You did it. You're building your resume.
Yeah.
You're about to be playing some really tough lacrosse the next couple of weeks. So, that's a big win.
It's a good transition there.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
got you, Dan.
this was definitely a game they needed to win. Had those tough losses to Army and Maryland. This was one that, they probably had circled on their schedule saying, we need to win this game. If we are who we think we are, we need to win this game. And obviously Hopkins is a great team, and they played them really tough. Like most, teams play Syracuse. It's always a
These teams hate
tough
each other,
game.
too.
Yeah.
That was one of the cool things they showed. It was but it was like the historical, like the history of Hopkins winning championships and Cuse winning championships and then playing each other in those big games. Like there's a history to the game too. So not only did they need to win this game, but there's a history to it.
Yeah, I mean, arguably it's the two biggest names in college lacrosse.
They are. Yeah.
What's the bigger name? I mean,
Hobart, but
You're talking blue bloods.
don't laugh at that. Hobart's
Yeah, don't laugh at that.
in
you
a
piece of
different
shit.
time, yes. In a different time, yes.
Jesus Christ. Dude.
But all time, throughout the last 100 years, it's these two.
Yeah. The other thing, too, talk about chippiness and just the rivalry itself. Scott Smith and Spalina got into it.
Yes.
And that was like, you don't see that a lot between, the number one guy on both teams where that happens and then you're standing next to him for the next hour.
You got to sit there in silence, or you're talking shit the whole time.
But
Or you're
that's
acting buddy buddy. There's so
probably
many
later.
ways that can go. But like you said, people don't notice. You're in that matchup. You're battling each other. You just he kicked his stick and pushed him after, and then the whistle blows. You go back on the field. The ball's on the other end. You guys are just sitting right next to each other.
Yeah.
I wish there was something that escalated it a little bit more than Scott Smith just
Kicking
kicking his stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just ready to explode.
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah, he was.
I thought that was so funny. I love that.
Yeah, he did get right up in his face, but I don't know. I wish it was like a big hit,
Yeah.
something like that. But
Yeah. It was in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was an awesome game. Another game I want to talk about. Brown. Shocking all of us.
Shocking.
An what's the word?
Unbelievable.
Haven't won a game, Brown.
Unwinning.
Unwinning Brown goes to overtime against Maryland after losing by 6 to Quinnipiac.
Who's a good team, but still, this is an Ivy League team
Right.
who went to OT with
Nothing
Maryland.
against Quinnipiac.
I mean, the spread itself was 10 goals.
Yeah, that's insane.
It was 10 goals, and I am a proponent who says that I still don't think Vegas has figured out lacrosse yet. 10 goals is a lot, and I think a lot of people were thinking that's very doable for Maryland.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will say, Vegas has figured out lacrosse more as the season has gone on.
Yep, for sure.
Like most of the lines you look at are very accurate, and they're all at that point where it's like, okay, I don't really have a good guess here, which is why our bets of the week have been flopping, for lack of a better term.
I'm honestly feeling pretty discouraged right now.
I mean, honestly, we're 65-70%, which isn't horrible.
No,
we're beating the house.
I'm not discouraged. I'm disappointed in Vegas, basically.
Fair. I'm saying too that these aren't NFL lines. That shit's almost impossible. But I mean, Eskra had a great game, 5 goals, 3 assists. Ursa, either way, great player, and he kind of seemed like being the year, like the end of last year, he really came on. It's like this kid's a matchup nightmare as a freshman, and I do feel like beginning this year, it didn't feel that way to me. He's obviously still a prolific Dodger and can lead this offense, but it didn't feel like he was, putting up the points and numbers that you thought he would be going in this year, and that's a good sign from.
I think last year he was kind of unassuming, and he was a freshman, and no one really knew who he was until he won the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Now he's their guy on offense, and he always gets a matchup. So
the guy.
So maybe that's why he's not been putting up the numbers he has last year.
Fair.
But he had 8 points against Brown, which was big. Another storyline in this game was McNaney and Terrio, the 2 goalies, McNaney for Maryland and Terrio, the people's goalie for Brown. Both had kind of bad games. McNaney went 43%. Connor Terrio went 33%, which isn't horrible, but it kind of tells the tale of why it was so high scoring and all that.
That's surprising, and I actually was looking at the the stats before we talked about this game, and as far as saves per game for Maryland, you don't think of this when you think McNaney, but they're like last in saves per game. They're at the bottom barrel of the NCAA when it comes.
I mean,
to
that
saves
says
per game.
something about their defense, causing turnovers, not letting shots get to the net. Like a lot of the teams you see who have like the highest saves per game, that's not really a great stat. It's good for the goalies, but for defenses, it kind of shows that shots are getting to the net.
That's a fair point. The top 3 teams are Quinnipiac, Mercer, and Hampton.
Yeah, okay.
It's an invert statistic.
What doesn't show good.
Wow,
Like that
good
word?
job. Yeah,
That's really nice.
It sounded really smart,
parody.
Hayden.
So
Invert.
if
Parody.
you watch the game, McNaney, obviously stats don't say he played great. He had the biggest save of maybe his career later in the game. I think Brown was up 2. They get the ball back after a stop. They go end to end, like all passes, like bang, bang, boom, boom, doorstep, McNaney kick save to prevent them from going down 2 or 3. If you watch the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then Maryland scored and got a penalty, or Brown got a penalty like right away. And then it flipped, and then they kind of took control. Obviously, Brown scored again late, but that was a huge play, and that's why Maryland is who they are. They got it done in the end, and I think we all knew that was going to happen. Other stories relating to our Ivy League schools, good week for them. Harvard remains unbeaten. Yale goes to Denver and gets the W. Princeton also with a dominant win against Rutgers in a trophy game.
Yeah, this is good for the Ivy League. I think they were kind of getting overshadowed by the ACC and the Big Ten and some of these other teams who were going undefeated and all that. The Ivies, they're always at a disadvantage in the beginning of the season just because their preseason is shorter than everybody else's, and they go into these games like, for example, Brown has played Quinnipiac, undefeated. BU, Providence, who they lost to in OT. Georgetown and Maryland. That's on like 2 weeks of practice.
Yeah.
And that's the same for all the other Ivy League teams. And obviously they're very talented, but I think, early in the season you tend to see them lose some games just because they're playing their first game against teams who are playing their third, fourth, fifth game. Yeah, which sucks for them, but like now you're starting to see them get going. You're starting to see them put it together. Like now they're here. And those wins last week really, really show that.
Such a stupid rule. Why is the Ivy League the only conference that does that?
Right.
Are you that much better than everyone else? Well, regardless, it feels like the old Ivy League again, right? It's the top 4 teams, top 5 teams, and then Dartmouth. Like,
yeah,
who isn't going to make the?
But
Ivy
Dartmouth
League?
Is better than they've ever been.
Sure, last year they were. I don't know about this year, but the top of the Ivy League is going to be a lot of fun. That Ivy League tournament's going to be great, and there's going to be a couple at-large bids probably from them. So, awesome.
Anyone know the name of the trophy for this game?
Oh,
This is bad. We'll figure it out. I literally looked up whatever it is. It's not well documented because I can't find it. But yeah, a great week for some Ivy League teams, and those games are going to pick up. Ivy League starts this week. Biggest game is Cornell Princeton, one of our games of the week. That's an epic matchup waiting for us.
Yes.
So a lot to talk about. We'll get into the slate right after our All Guts, No Glory section from Brett, who did it last week. Did a great job. So he's going to do it again.
good feedback too.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
Great feedback.
All right, folks. Penn State dominating Cornell. They've got offensive firepower. We knew that. They're actually at a 5 face-off deficit, and they still scored 11 more goals in the Big Red. They are 5-1. Cornell is 3-2. Matt Traynor had 7 goals and assist. TJ Malone was 3-4. Jack Frassione allowed his fewest number of goals against a ranked team this season. He is a leader. He stops the ball when it matters. And also, CJ Kirst was held to 3 points. Rare that we see that. But really, we are seeing that in Nittany Lions team that we saw late last year. So good stuff from them. Vermont beating UMass. Has anyone ever seen a catamount battle a gorilla? We sure did. And based on this game, I mean, really, this is the first time the program has beaten UMass. That is Vermont. The Catamounts took 15 more shots in this one. UMass really struggled at the X here. Henry Dodge was 17 of 27. Hell of a performance here from the sophomore. Vermont has Dartmouth next week. It may be the spark they need with their 2-4 year to catapult them over the Big Green. Bellarmine beats up Marquette. What happened here? Marquette was favored by 3 goals going into this one. Both teams sharing a 3-3 500 record. I said it last week. I'll say it again. Your scorers have to shoot the ball well and at a higher percentage to win games. Devin McCowan, Bobby O'Grady, Jake Stegman, all under 15% shooting. Bellarmine's guy, Kyle Plaisted, he was 2-2 in this game. J.C. Higginbottom had 17 saves to Caleb Creaser's 5 on the other side. Knights pulled out a big one this year.
Another thing we want to cover, make sure it gets coverage that it deserves. Wagner, huge win over Marist. I think they were 10-goal underdogs, something like that.
Something like that.
It's a huge victory for them. Also, the name of the trophy for Princeton Rutgers is the Tots Maestral Cup. Apologize to our New Jersey listeners. Thank you, guys. Joining the show this week is Max Rosa. He's a senior, a 2-time captain at Syracuse, a West Jenny product. If you think you love lacrosse, just listen to Max.
Big hit taken by Rosa. Max Rosa, but he got the ball back. And he's emerging from the pile. Look at that. What a pass from Rosa. Dordovic streaking in, flag down. Siebold scores! Make it Berkman, but Rosa is the star right now as they mob him on the sideline.
Max, thanks so much for joining the show, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah. Just to kind of fill us in, obviously a tough start to the spring of 2024 for you, tearing your ACL against Michigan. Just kind of fill us in on what the past couple months have been like for you going through this process.
Yeah. So it obviously happened preseason against Michigan in the scrimmage, and then got the official results. I want to say about a week later, a couple days after the weekend, and then it's kind of like a 2 to 3 week process where the trainers and strength coach kind of crush you in the weight room to stabilize your knee prior to the surgery. And then this week is actually 4 weeks since the surgery. So I'm officially off the crutches, walking around on my own, but it's still, locked in straight 90 degrees. So I can't do much right now.
Yep.
And it's definitely been a crazy adjustment. I know I like to, just talking with my parents and friends. It's kind of crazy. Like your goals in life switch a lot. So it's like the motivation from, getting ready to run out of the tunnel in the Carrier Dome to 6,000 fans cheering and screaming your name to, just like trying to, not use your parents to help you get out of bed in the morning because you can't walk is a little different. So it's been a crazy adjustment, but I think I try and find the positive in everything. And whether I find that out, this week or 2 years from now, I'm sure, it happened for a reason. I just trying to stay positive and attack my, role as a captain a little bit different than being, like an on-field contributor to more of a leadership, off the field mentor kind of role. So.
Totally. And sorry to ask that just to open things up. I don't mean to be dark. I mean, that's
all good.
Some people listening can certainly relate. That's, incredible perspective, but I want to give you the chance as a 2-time captain. I want to give you the chance to talk about just Syracuse lacrosse, what it means to you. And also, maybe before we go into that, love to hear kind of what you're doing right now. So it sounds like you're home.
Yes.
Are you planning on returning to the team sometime soon?
Yeah. They're spending the week. Coach Gate hooked them up. They've got 3 or 4 beach houses down in the Outer Banks, so they're practicing and enjoying their time on the beach. I'm back in actually on Skaneateles right now, grabbing dinner in a little bit with my parents. But yeah, I'm just doing PT 6 days a week, 2.5 hours a day, trying to get it just to a point where I can go back to the team. My plan is to move back up to school come Sunday when they get back from the trip and, kind of resume my normal life. It's obviously a lot different, but I'll still, start going to practices, and haven't been to games since the Maryland game. So excited to get back on the field or just around the guys. It's kind of crazy. You go from sleeping to waking up, breakfast, lunch, dinner with 60 kids to suddenly living with your parents, having them practically do everything for you, which is great. And I'm so appreciative, but I'm excited to go be a college student again.
I hear you. I think they're going to need a big wake up call from you when they get back from this vacation that Coach Gate want to take them on. They got to come back to upstate, and I think they got to hear it from you to get whipped into shape, because people have their eyes on them now after that Hopkins win for sure. But before we talk about the team this year, just for you, I guess I mentioned it, but 2-time captain, you didn't have to be in the locker room or a part of that team to know you were the heartbeat. If you watched any games, you saw your contributions, you saw what you gave on the field, and it was evident clearly. So I want to give you the chance. Just what does Syracuse lacrosse mean to you? Tell us about that experience.
Oh, I guess it pretty much means everything. I've made my, friends, which I hope for life there. I've, had great connections with, the alumni. I've gained a few mentors from there. I played for some of the best coaches. I went from Coach Desco to Coach Gate, Coach March, Coach Rogers. I've had Coach O'Dearn, and now I've had some of the best coaches, Coach Petro too. Get mad if I forgot him. I've had like the craziest college experience with just like legends for my coaches, which is pretty cool. I was fortunate to play for Coach Masser in high school too. So I've been blessed to play for some of the best coaches lacrosse has to offer. But yeah, it means everything. Like I said, my friends, you learn so much on and off the field in college, which I'm sure you guys can attest to. It's, the late nights with your buddies in the house and stuff like that. It means everything to me.
Yep. Yeah, and we spoke a bit about another West Genesee guy, Matty Mack. Shout out Matty Mack, wherever you are.
Yeah.
What do those people and those examples, what do they mean for you when you're really taking that leadership role off the field rather than on the field? How has that kind of changed your perspective?
Yeah. No, I think at a very young age in my college career, when I was a freshman, I was fortunate enough to have guys like Brendan Curran and Stephen Rafis who, laid the foundation for me. And I know they, the same as I'm sure many freshmen come in and connect with an older guy early on. Those were my two guys who, I kind of molded myself to be like them in a way. It's not like, we're all identical and, we're the same exact people, but I definitely fed off of them. And I know that if you were to ask anybody in the past, probably 5 or 6 years, what those guys meant to the program, they would tell you they meant everything. So I think early in my career, I was like, if I can be half the guys or half the man that these two guys are, I think I'll have a pretty good college career. So those two guys are definitely who I based my off the field leadership into, just because it's like they're the kind of guys that you're dying to hang out with on Friday, Saturday night, and then that they got your back when something goes wrong, and they're there to pick you up when you're in a tough spot. So just all around great people.
Yeah. It's I know for a fact people will be saying that about Max Rosa pretty soon. I want to kind of ask a little bit about Syracuse having competed against you guys. There just seems to be a difference with your program, and I don't know if it's the history, the culture, the head, heart, hustle, and which I think is real to a large extent. But from you and just having now impacted the program forever, just kind of what do you think the difference is with Syracuse and why they're continually at the top and continually on everyone's radar? And even on a down year, you guys, I think at one point had a 4-10 season, but you're challenging some of the best teams in the country every single week. So what is it with the program, in your opinion, that keeps them at the top?
I mean, from my perspective, like I, kind of just spoke on, it's the leaders, in the locker room who the 4-10 season. It's funny that you brought it up. I was just talking to my parents about it on the way here. It was, such like a miserable time because obviously you want to be winning and stuff, but I just remember day in and day out, those guys every single day. Curry would come in and it's like, look we're 4-10, but we've got Duke this weekend. Why not, make their life miserable? Our lives are not that great right now. Let's go get a win against Duke, or let's go get a win against UNC or Notre Dame or Virginia. I think it was those words of encouragement from the older guys because, I was fortunate. I still had 3 years after that season where, that's for some of those older guys, that's the last, game or games that they'll ever play. So I think, it starts at the top, and those guys did a great job of, encouraging everybody, whether you're the bottom of the depth chart or the top of the depth chart. So I think it's very important to have it's great to have coaches who, motivate you and whatnot, but the coaches are only with you for 2 hours a day. So you got to have those leaders who are, in your ear night and day, just encouraging you to stay motivated. And then I just think like for a while there, it was maybe the pressure of like, well, Syracuse has won so many national championships. What's going on? And I think eventually, which I give all the credit in the world, the current coaches right now, Coach Gate, Coach O, and Coach March, they've done such a good job of completely blocking that out for us and just making it so much fun. And I think truly it's like the more fun we've had this year in the games, at least what I've been a part of, and, the practices have been so fun. Guys are loose. Guys are excited to play. So I think our coaches are doing an amazing job of, keeping everyone engaged. It comes to a point in the season where I've noticed this since my freshman year. Those bottom 20 guys come mid-season, I think get a little discouraged because, the writing is on the wall. They probably, if they haven't played yet, they probably won't play the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And our coaches do an amazing job of keeping everyone involved. I don't know if you guys have seen the games, but we have a man down unit of all non-starters. So those man down guys come in and, they practice that, they study it, they do their job. And if you watch the Hopkins game, the 2-minute non-releasable penalty kill, no goal scored was, like a crazy momentum swing. And that's just like a great way to keep everyone involved. And I think I was like, oh God, like, how is this going to work? But once like we started doing it, it was like the coolest thing in the world. So I think our coaches have just done an amazing job this year of, really making it fun. Lacrosse is supposed to be like an escape. Kids have got problems in their life. They're worried about internships, jobs after college, all this stuff. It's like, come play lacrosse for 2 hours and have fun and get out of the real world. Like this is our recess from, real life.
Yeah, that shout out Jake Titus and that man down unit.
Yeah,
I will say it's a little easier to have a full man down unit come in towards whenever you go man down when you play in a dome every single game. That's just me. I don't know. It's a little different when you're standing out in 20-degree weather. It's a third quarter, and then you got to put in 5.
I agree.
So that's I think it's so cool though. I think it's awesome. I'm glad you're doing it.
You either got to commit more penalties or be fortunate enough to play in the dome, I guess.
Be a good teammate and commit more penalties. I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Last one for maybe the younger listeners. What some people might not know is you were originally an offensive midi when you got to Syracuse, and then you switched to the defensive side of the ball. I think that's a coaching decision that a lot of kids might take personally or might not like or disagree with, but you certainly didn't. You excelled immediately when you stepped into the role. Can you just talk about that decision, dealing with that? I assume there wasn't much thought. Just hearing you talk, I have to assume there wasn't a lot of thought and you just did it full speed. But what advice do you have to anyone who's maybe dealing with this decision from a coach?
Yeah, I mean, I came in as a midi, and then my freshman year was, I think, like third or fourth line offensive midfield, and then COVID hit, and we came back that following fall, and I was just had like such an itch to play, which I'm sure every kid in college lacrosse does, but I started taking some wing reps in practice and intentionally getting stuck on defense as much as I could. And
love it. I love it. I kind of got lucky. We had 1 or 2 people catch COVID before the Virginia game, and then another guy was hurt. So actually back to Stephen Rafis, he went up to the coach's office and was just like, you got to just try him. Like I did ask the coaches multiple times to switch, and they just like didn't try it. And then finally Rafis spoke up for me, and the coaches are like, well, we have no one else, so we might as well try it. And then my first college lacrosse game was against Virginia, and it went well, but it was definitely a crazy experience and a little bit different than practice every day. But yeah, I think you just got to go with the flow. Like I could have, it would be great to, especially with all the social media and attention that Syracuse gets. I'd love to be Michael Leo or Jackson Birtwistle or Joey Spallina doing the between the legs behind the back goals. It's great and stuff, but I kind of just found appreciation in that position because I knew that I could be a heartbeat for the team. It's not like I'm showing up in the stat sheet, but your teammates do appreciate a player like that more than people realize. And I found validation in that. I didn't necessarily care that I wasn't on the Instagram or the Twitter after every game. I knew my teammates appreciated it, and
at the end of the day, you go to college to, win a national championship and play lacrosse for yourself, but, ultimately it's for your teammates. So I found I got, kind of lucky. It was perfect timing. Unfortunate that those guys hurt, but it worked out in my favor. And I did try offense one more time, but it was funny. I tried offense my last year, actually, in the fall. I played offense all fall, and then I got back in our first team meeting. Everybody left the room, and my coaches are like, Max, can you stay back? And I'm like, oh, this is
God.
it. I know.
You knew it was coming.
I knew exactly what was coming. I'm like, defense, right? And they're like, yeah. So I switched back, and
you gave it a shot.
Yeah. I like to say I never look back. I technically did try and play offense again one more time, but I loved it. It's fun. I played at West Tennessee. You had to play every position. There was no, offensive or defensive specialist. So I played everything in high school. So I love the, the physical aspect of it, the in between the lines, the ground balls, the defensive scheme. I really did fall in love with it, and I was loving it. This year playing for Coach O. He's a young, enthusiastic, very positive, outgoing coach, and I loved playing for him. And it obviously kind of came to an abrupt end with my injury, but I've been talking to the current D middies on our team, and I kind of doubted that like anybody would come to me for advice. I think I was just in a bad spot, like feeling bad for myself because of the injury. But, I quickly realized how much I, really did mean to those guys. And as much as I would love to be out there playing and, in the heart of the game, I've found, some happiness in doing what I can to help out the guys that are playing that role now. And we've had some guys step in and play some big minutes who probably weren't going to play much this year, and I've been so happy for them. It sucks that I went down, but like it kind of started for me. I went down, and some new guys got some time to play, so I'm happy for them. It's definitely weird, watching from home when they're at an away game playing Hopkins, but I'm excited to get back to the team and offer what I can. I know it's not necessarily the ground balls and the physical play, but I think I can definitely mentor and offer words of wisdom for the guys on our team, because we're in a great position right now, but ACC play is around the corner, and it only gets harder for us the rest of the season. So we've got big aspirations. So I'll be there to do what I can and offer myself in any way.
They're very lucky to have you. I'll say that for sure. But Max, we're also very lucky to have you. This has been awesome.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited to keep watching Syracuse this year, as well as maintain a close relationship with the program. Best of luck in coming back from the injury, as well as joining the team and becoming an on-field leader for them through ACC play. We're juiced to follow.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for having me. This is awesome.
Thanks, Max.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Our week 6 slate, some awesome games here. We're starting Thursday, March 14th. We have Dartmouth at Vermont. Before we dive into this, we're recording Tuesday this week, so we actually do not have access to the lines for these games. We will provide some insight, hopefully from Tommy Locks on this episode. If not, it'll be on social, so just keep an eye out for that. But we're going to start on Thursday, still cover all these games, give you an idea of maybe where you should put your money to feed your family if interested. Starting Thursday, March 14th, Dartmouth at Vermont. Vermont 1.5 goal favorites. This was at 2 p.m. Dartmouth is 2-3 on the year. Vermont 2-4, but they just beat UMass. They played Harvard very close. Dartmouth is 0-4 against the spread this year. I do like Vermont covering this 1.5 goal spread. Moving on to Friday, March 15th, we have one game, and it's a good one. Navy at Hopkins. Hopkins, 7.5 goal favorites. This one's at 7 p.m.
Yep, Hopkins is 5-2. They're coming off that 1-goal loss to Syracuse that we just talked about. With that loss, they went from number 2 in the rankings to number 8. So pretty brutal drop for them. It just shows how much parity there is and how much a loss means at this point in the season. for ranking purposes. Navy is 3-3. They've been very up and down this year. They're coming off a 12-10 loss to Lehigh, who was a good team. And before that they beat BU. So they can beat anybody. They can lose to anybody. Still don't really know what their potential is. But with that being said, Hopkins is 5-2 against the spread this year. I think they come out with something to prove against Navy and cover that 7.5 point spread.
Saturday, March 16th, bunch of games at noon as always, started with Bryant at UMBC. Bulldogs and Retrievers. It's an American East game. Bryant is 4-2 coming off a 16-5 win over Fairfield. UMBC 1-3. They lost the last two by a lot to Towson and Richmond. UMBC, though, they've played some good teams, so we'll see what happens. Mercer at Detroit Mercy, 12 p.m. ASUN game, first for both teams. Detroit Mercy is 0-3. Mercer 1-4. Not much else here. Lehigh at Army, 12 p.m.
Oh, yeah, the Patriot League is fun. Lehigh is 3-3. They're coming off a big 12-10 win against Navy last week. They're starting to kind of put it together here. And like Hayden said last week, they could be a contender for the Patriot League. This will be fun to see how the Patriot League ends this year. But Army is the new number one. They are atop all of the Division I landscape. They are one of 4 remaining unbeaten teams. They are 2-0 in the Patriot League. Lehigh will definitely be one of the tougher teams that they play in the Patriot League this year. Army's offense, they have some people that are growing some big names for themselves. Evan Plunkett, Jacob Morin, Jackson Eicher, Reese Burek, and they are just playing some good lacrosse now. I think something important to note is that the number 1 team in Division I has lost the last 3 weeks. Will Lehigh make it 4?
Interesting stat, and some other great teams have lost too. Moving on to some CAA action. First contest for both these squads. Hofstra at Fairfield. This one's at noon. Hofstra 3-4. Last 2 games though were against Rutgers and UNC. They play a tough schedule. Fairfield also 3-4, coming off a big win against UMass Lowell. Lemoyne at Hobart. Hobart is 2-4. Coming off a tough loss to Albany, 14-10. Lemoyne 2-3, coming off a 10-6 win against Mercer. Any win they get this year is huge for them. Hobart 1-5 against the spread. They need to win this game before hosting Syracuse in a huge one, the Krause-Simmons game next week. And then we have Utah at Bellarmine. This one's at 12 noon.
The Utes are a 2-3 team going into this week. Ryan Steins and Tyler Bradbury leading the score sheet on the offensive end for them. If there's any indication of this matchup and what's going to happen, Utah beat Marquette in a close one last week, 9-8. Bellarmine has some good momentum, though. They're on a 3-game win streak. Goalie play needs to get up in those double digits. It will get them in better shape against this Utah team. Utah showed they could stretch to double-digit scoring easily. They have put up 18 and 22 this year. So excited to see this matchup.
Another new game, American East action. Merrimack at Binghamton.
Yeah, this is not a great game. Binghamton is 2-4. They had a pretty bad loss to St. John's last week. I talked about their experience in earlier episodes, but I'm starting to realize that their experience doesn't mean a whole lot when they don't have experience winning. Merrimack is 2-5 this year, which I thought was a little bit surprising. I've kind of lightly been following them this year, and I was under the impression that they're having a good year. 2-5 is obviously not where they want to be. They do have a good win against Bryant. But, both teams don't have great defenses, don't have great offenses. Binghamton lets up 14 goals a game. Merrimack lets up 14.5 goals a game. Both in the bottom 10 defenses in the country. And they both score around 10 goals a game offensively, which is bottom half in the country. So not a great game. I like Merrimack here, hometown team.
Manhattan at Sacred Heart, 12 noon MAC matchup. Manhattan 1-5. They just lost to the Mount. Manhattan, our stats team, pulled this one out. Worst face-off team in the country. Sacred Heart 3-4, coming off a big win against Siena. Sacred Heart is gunning for the number 1 spot in the MAC. They need this if they want to be at the number 1 spot at the end of the season. Monmouth at Villanova. Villanova 3-3. They're 3-0 as the favorite, expected to win this game. Monmouth also 3-3, but no significant wins, and they're also 0-3 as the underdog. Good stat there. Towson at Drexel, 12 noon.
The CAA, another very fun conference. Definitely one of the most even conferences in the country. Towson is 4-3. They lost to a very good UVA team, 19-15, a barn burner last week. Towson, although 3 losses, they've had 3 losses to some good teams: UVA, Loyola, and Hopkins. So some tough losses, but they also have some good wins. Drexel's 3-3. They're 500. They're a team that can win games. They did get beat pretty badly by St. Joe's last week, but this is a Drexel team that can win games in the CAA. They can win important games. They won the conference only a couple years ago. They're definitely the underdog in this game, but they are 3-1 against the spread as underdogs. I think this is going to be a lot tighter than a lot of people think it's going to be. So we don't know the spread yet, but it's going to be a very good game for sure.
Is there a shout out deserved for some of these statistics?
What do you mean?
I mean, he's kind of against the spread stats. Is there a shout out that's deserved?
Yeah, there is a spreadsheet circling the world of college lacrosse fandom, and it's brought to us by a personality online, a writer,
An insider.
an exceptional mind of lacrosse analysis in Dan Arestia.
Wow, this is
Dan, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
seriously.
If anybody
hard work.
wants access to this spreadsheet, you can visit Dan Arestia's Twitter page. It's under his name. It's linked in his bio, I believe. The spreadsheet that he manages every week includes everything from lines to records to these stats against the spread, how teams do as the underdogs, as the favorites, all that. So again, let's round of applause for Dan Arestia.
One more. It's tough work, man.
Seriously, it is
A great resource for lacrosse fans.
Thank you, Dan. Seriously, thank you. Hope to have you on the show very soon. We're going to keep going through our 12 noon Saturday games. One of them is NJIT at Vermont, but we're going to hold off because this is one of our games of the week.
Hold the line.
And we're holding the line. Hold from Braveheart.
Hold the line.
Hold. Can't
America.
wait to talk about that one. UNC at Stony Brook, 12 noon, continuing their Rhode Island trip. This will be a good game. UNC 4-2, coming off 2 big wins against Penn and Hofstra. Stony Brook is 3-4, coming out of an OT loss to Providence. I'd love to be a student at Stony Brook with their home schedule. They got some good teams coming in: Rutgers, Penn State, Providence, UNC. Another game, Wagner at Quinnipiac. This one's at noon as well. It's a MAC game. Wagner 1-0 in the MAC. Quinnipiac 2-0 in the MAC. Wagner 1-5, coming off a huge win over Marist, as we mentioned earlier. Quinnipiac likely the favorite to win the conference right now. We'll see if they can continue the run. St. John's at St. Joe's, 12 noon.
The Battle of the Saints. Carter Page and Levi Anderson had a great showing last week against a pretty good, solid Drexel team, as Mike was sharing. They walked out of there with almost a double-digit win. The Hawks did struggle at the X last week. St. John's got their second win, and that was over Binghamton. Dane Armstrong, their face-off guy, was 60%. I think St. Joe should walk away with this one. They got to do all the little things right. I think it should go their way.
UAlbany at UMass Lowell, American East game. This is the last of our noon games here. UMass Lowell 0-5, coming off to losses against Siena, LIU, Fairfield. Albany, maybe the best 1-4 team in the country.
Sure.
They're a tough team. Everyone knows it. Can certainly make a run in this conference. Some 1 o'clock games now, starting in the Patriot League, BU at Loyola.
Yeah, so I want to take a second just to do a quick Patriot League preview. We're starting to get these in-conference games and, kind of understanding what the landscape looks like before these games are played. Will tell us a little bit more about the importance of each game. So right now, as it stands in the Patriot League, Army, Colgate, and Lehigh are the top 3. They're all undefeated in league play. Navy, BU, and Bucknell are all 1-1, so they're middle of the pack. And then Loyola is 0-1, and Lafayette and Holy Cross are both 0-2. Right, so the depth in that conference is pretty unbelievable, because just last week we were talking about how Lafayette is a very solid team this year, and they're at the bottom of the conference. Holy Cross, also at the bottom of the conference. Don't have too much to say about them, but from top to bottom, it's a very strong conference. And while Army is the number 1 team in the country, I think it's going to be interesting to see who is playing in the championship, and if another team wins the championship. And I think BU and Loyola, who are playing at 1 o'clock this Saturday, are two teams that could play in the championship and potentially win it. I think both of these teams are very solid teams. They've both kind of been struggling as of late. But BU is 4-2, Loyola is 2-5. So BU is still playing for that at-large hope. Maybe if they don't win the Patriot League, they might have a chance of that at-large. Loyola is kind of out of that conversation. So, they're kind of playing for different reasons, but both teams need league wins, and this is a big game of two of the best teams in the Patriot League.
Question.
Yeah.
I think Army's the only Patriot League team that can get an at-large bid.
You think so?
I think they're the only.
Agreed.
I think they're the only non-ACC, Big Ten, Ivy. We should make a name for those conferences, like the Power 5. We should make something like the Power 3 or something.
What if BU
for a later
offline?
For a later date. But
what if BU?
I think you're right. I think Army is the only one who will get an at-large
What if
bid.
BU wins the rest of the way, beats Army later on in the season? Right, they still got to beat all these guys. I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's tough. Moving on. More 1 p.m. games. Canisius at Marist. This is a MAC game. Canisius 2-4. They have some big upset wins this year. Bellarmine, they're plus 1,400. They win. They beat Bobby Moe, where they're plus 550. So you never know. Marist, a good team, but with some bad losses. Most recently to Wagner, 9-8. Two more 1 o'clock games we're going to talk about later in the games of the week. Section Duke at Richmond, Harvard at Yale. More Patriot League action here. Lafayette at Holy Cross. As we know, the Patriot League is competitive. Lafayette 3-2 on the year, coming off a tough loss to a good Colgate team, 16-10. Holy Cross 2-4, but they're 4-2 against the spread. Good teams win, great teams cover. Big Patriot League game. Lafayette will look to hold their position in the top half of the Patriot League. Rutgers at UMass, 1 p.m.
Very good game. Rutgers is 5-2. They lost 14-8 to Princeton last week. What did we determine the name of that cup was?
Let me pull it up. Continue. I'll bring it up.
It's a tough one, but the Battle of Jersey.
Todd Maestro.
The Tots Maestro Cup.
The Tots Maestro Cup, a prestigious cup and an old game for sure. And they lost to Army the week prior to Princeton. So 2 tough losses against 2 good teams. They are 1-6 against the spread, so they're not smacking teams as you would think a Big Ten Rutgers team would, but they're winning some really good games. Loyola, Lehigh, Stony Brook. UMass is 4-2. They lost a bad one against Vermont, 13-12. We say a bad one because Vermont was not looking good until they beat UMass, record-wise and just their overall performance, honestly. But UMass was in the top 20 in some polls. They were just outside in others. Now they are out. UMass was in the top, at-large, I guess, conversation if we're going to go if the A-10 would have one with Richmond. But UMass plays Brown next. If they can beat Rutgers and Brown, they might have a strong enough case for at-large bid, like I'm saying. But we'll see. 2 very tough teams. This reminds me a lot of the UMass Army games, similar styles, gritty, physical. That'll be a fun one to watch.
It's a good point. You remove that Vermont loss. UMass kind of does have a case there, especially if they can win some big games down the stretch. Our last 1 o'clock game, VMI at Siena. MAC game, VMI 4-3. Surprising loss to LIU. They got pounded 17-8. Siena 2-4. They got beat up by Sacred Heart. Both teams are 0-1 in the MAC right now, looking to change their fate. An ASUN game, some 2 o'clock games. ASUN matchup. Queens at Air Force. Queens is 1-3. Only beating Hampton. Air Force 1-4, but I've played some good teams like Denver, pretty tight, and I do think Air Force should cruise here. Great game. Syracuse at Delaware. This one's a 2.
Yeah, I think this is a huge pulse check moment for Delaware. The Hens are 3-2 after thrashing Monmouth. Big momentum shift, I think. There's a Canadian duo, part of that lineup, JP Ward and Mike Robinson. They're hovering right around the 20-point mark. Can say this is to the best of their ability, not the strongest start, but there's definitely some pressure on them to perform in this one. Not really much to be said about Syracuse. We talked about them quite a bit. I think they're feeling pretty good about where they are. Their most recent loss being against the Black Knights. Syracuse leads the country in goals currently. I think they have 130 in goals for. Joey Spallina still leads the country in points. He's got 52.
More ASUN action. Cleveland State at Lindenwood. 2:00 game. Cleveland State is 3-3, lost last week to Bonnie's. Lindenwood 0-3, lost 18-5 to NJIT last week. Looking to get a win before the program closes for good. I like the Vikings to conquer this one. Another 2:00 game. Robert Morris at Jacksonville. RMU is 1-4, really struggling this year. Jacksonville 3-3, beat a good High Point team last week by 1. RMU, though, a history of turning it on once conference play begins.
They do.
And this is an ASUN game. Penn State at Marquette. This one's a 2.
Yeah, if you asked me about this game 3 weeks ago, I would have said that Marquette is going to be 8-point favorites, and they're going to walk away with this one. If you recall, in the first, second, and third episode, I was very, very high on Marquette. I thought they were going to roll through the Big East. I thought they were going to be a potential championship weekend team. Right, I was just mesmerized by their size, their apparent leadership, and their play style. But that was after they played Air Force, Lindenwood, and Detroit Mercy. So I think I came out of the gates a little bit too hot on Marquette. So I do apologize for some misinformation regarding their talent levels and all that.
Sure.
Yep.
Since those first 3 wins, starting 3-0, they've lost to Notre Dame and Michigan. Fine. They lost to Utah, which I thought they could have won. But then last week they lost to Bellarmine 11-5, and it was like, okay, you know what? I can't keep following them anymore.
I can't.
So I don't know if there's a culture issue or if there's a whole lot of injuries or something like that, but something changed because their guys are still playing. Like Jake Stegman was one of the guys I said early on who I thought was going to be a first-team All-American, number 14 from Marquette. Like, you watch him play, he's unbelievable, and he shoots 15% against Bellarmine.
Yeah,
it's like, what the hell is happening? But Penn State, on the other hand, they've completely redeemed themselves. Obviously lost week 1 to Colgate, but have since then won some huge games, and they're back up to number 9 in the country. I think they're going to keep going. I think they're going to kill Marquette. I think they're going to win by a lot. I think Marquette is fizzled out, done.
Mount at LIU, 2 p.m. game. Old NEC game, but now this is MACtion. The Mount has been extremely underwhelming. They're 0-7. Yeah. LIU 4-1. They have quietly been winning games. They might be this show's MAC favorite.
Quinnipiac?
No, LIU.
What do you like? Quinnipiac's 4-0 in the MAC.
I'll take this offline, but
show's favorite.
I like...
That's debatable.
We have a conversation to be had. Michigan at Notre Dame. Mike's note here, big time game, 2:00.
Big time game would have been an even bigger time game. The biggest time game if
the biggest game.
Michigan hadn't lost to Harvard last week. It would have been the biggest. Michigan's 5-2. They had a tough 13-11 loss to Harvard last week, who is a great team, as we all know. They are undefeated at the moment. We will get into them later, but Notre Dame is on a 2-game win streak. They beat 2 very good teams, Maryland and Ohio State, since that wild upset against a very good Georgetown team that nobody saw coming. But as anyone knows who's been on a team, sometimes you need to get smacked in the mouth to really succeed later in the year. I think that is what happened to Notre Dame. They're playing some really good lacrosse. I think they have reclaimed that identity of being amongst the top 3 teams in the country at the moment and could be on Memorial Day weekend. But, I mean, whatever you say about Michigan, they're still a really good team. I think a lot of people are down on them from what they've shown so far this year, just off the year they had last year, but they are still a very good team. Watch out. This will be a really good game.
A 3:00 game that will inevitably consume my weekend. Virginia at Maryland. It's one of our games of the week, obviously, so going to cover that in a bit. But Brown at Penn at 3:30.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. This is another great Ivy League matchup here. New week, new outlook here. Brown is 0-5, as we mentioned. Penn is 4-2. I think on paper, face-off play is pretty important here. It's pretty even at 47%. Penn has a little bit more depth here, running 3 to 4 guys consistently. I feel like on the show it's a bit of a belated point, but I think it's important here because possession will be crucial. The Quakers have Tynan Walsh. He's leading in points for them. He's shown just great awareness around the cage, good hands, good ability to finish. Brown's Aiden McLean looking for a breakout game, and I think he'll need one again, Brown is kind of a team that owns runs and goes on runs. And I think Mike Daly is just a great motivator for them, and I think he's really going to need to motivate to have them win this week.
The Saturday slate is going to let you rest up for St. Patrick's Day because the last game is at 4 o'clock. It's Colgate at Bucknell. Colgate is 5-3, a 2-game win streak right now with Loyola and Lafayette. They're a legit team. Bucknell 2-4, lost to BU last week, and they played Richmond pretty tight actually. Expect Colgate to win this game, but it's going to be pretty close in my opinion. Sunday, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, Denver goes to Ohio State, 12 noon.
Yeah, good game here, especially because it's at Ohio State. Tough place to play. Denver, after their Yale loss, drops all the way to number 9, which is scandalous, frankly. Did people forget what they did to Hopkins and Cornell?
Yeah.
And the rest of the teams they played? Like going from 1 to 9 is a big drop, especially losing to Yale.
I want to look at the teams ahead of them.
That's huge.
I mean, it's hard to make a case of why they should be higher, but you don't really see a drop from 1 to 9 all that often, especially when you lose into a top 15 team. Mm-hmm. Ohio State, taking a look at them, they're 4-3. They started the season 4-0. Their last 3 games have been against Notre Dame, Cornell, and Virginia. I don't think there's been a tougher 3-stretch game by any team this year. Obviously those are ranks like 3, 4, and 8 or something. So they dropped those games, but against very good competition. And sometimes that's what you need to wake up and win a game against a team like Denver. I'm rooting for Denver here. I'm rooting for them to get back on top, which is something I think they can do. This win against Ohio State would obviously, propel them upwards. And if they lose this game, it would really be a shock to their system, and they would fall pretty drastically if I had to take a guess. They just need to focus on this game, which I'm sure they will do. But, this is a very important game for Denver, and they cannot look ahead.
Second game on Sundays at 2 o'clock. It's Cornell at Princeton, one of our games of the week, so we'll cover that in a bit. Moving on to the midweek games. A couple we want to cover here, but we'll fly through most of them. Dartmouth at Georgetown, Albany at Virginia, Villanova at Navy. It's a great out-of-conference game. Penn at St. Joe's. We're going to talk about this one, a Philly rivalry.
Philly battle. There's a couple of those good Philly games. Drexel's among them. Villanova as well. But Penn is 4-2. They're coming off a good 11-8 win over another Philly opponent, Villanova. We've seen some of their highs and some of their lows in some rainy games, some beautiful games down in Carolina against Duke and UNC. Emmett Carroll, Penn's goalie, he is playing some excellent lacrosse. He's definitely the anchor, the backbone of that team. He's second in the country in saves per game at 14.83 at the moment. He's definitely in the bright spot, but I mean, they also have cover defenseman Brendan Laval as well, who is a stud. He is a mountain of a man who put the clamps on Brendan O'Neill, something we haven't seen in a very long time. So that is something to definitely be. And I mean, they have some just excellent offensive players as well. Sam Hanley, part 2, as we've mentioned before, number 19 on that team, dodging, shooting, doing everything. But St. Joe's is coming off 2 big wins against Air Force and Drexel. They started off 0-3. People were kind of down on St. Joe's. They're not used to seeing them lose that many games in a row or starting off so poorly. They have been so great the past couple of years, probably the past 5 years. But they're getting on track. They're starting to play some really good lacrosse with some of their pieces, Levi Anderson and Carter Page, 2 of their attackmen who can put the rock in the net. Watch out. They could be playing some high-level lacrosse as they approach the A-10.
Some more games Wednesday as well. Bellarmine at Mercer, Air Force at Utah. That's a conference game. Lindenwood at Queens, Detroit Mercy at Robert Morris, and a great Wednesday matchup, an ACC game, Duke at Syracuse.
Yeah, I'm sure if we're filming next week on Wednesday, we'll be watching this game as we're filming. Right now, Duke is number 4 and Syracuse is number 6. Before these two teams meet, Syracuse has to play Delaware, and Duke has to play Richmond, which are both trap games for them because you know that they're both thinking about this matchup on Wednesday. And it's going to be easy for them to look ahead and say, okay, we're going to roll over these teams. But Richmond has played with everybody this year. They've played with Virginia and Maryland. Delaware has been an extremely tough team this year. So they're going to have to get through those games. I'm not saying that they're potential losses, but they are potential losses. Interested to see. I'm really hoping that Duke and Syracuse win those 2 games, so this matchup on Wednesday is as heightened as it possibly could be.
Something to look forward to during the week, which
Yeah, it's great.
there's not much more.
It's really the first big midweek game.
Army Syracuse.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Wednesday, yeah.
But still, like, that's great, you know?
Yeah.
It is.
I don't think Syracuse should be 6. That's another time.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some Division 3 lacrosse. Hayden, you ready to give us the rundown?
Sure. Yeah, we'll do it quick here. So last Friday, Cabrini beat Cortland 12-11, which was a big upset win. Cabrini's obviously going out of business after this year. That was the biggest win on their schedule thus far, and interested to see how they keep competing. Saturday had some big games. Williams beat Bates 15-14 in the NESCAC battle. Bowdoin looked really good against a good Middlebury team. They won 16-10. Washington and Lee beat Gettysburg 15-8, which was a pretty huge upset. Union beat Muhlenberg at home 17-7. Salisbury, the number 1 team in the country, beat York 17-11. York's been playing an unbelievable schedule, but Salisbury is still the number 1 team in the country. And St. Lawrence beat a good Nazareth team 9-4. Sunday, we saw Babson beat Middlebury 8-6, which was a huge win for the Beavers program. Maybe their biggest win in the last 5 years. And Lynchburg beat Denison 13-4. Thought that was going to be a little bit closer, but Lynchburg is legit this year. So a couple stories from the weekend. Middlebury was ranked 5 or 6 at the beginning of last week. They dropped to 16. They lost 3 straight games to RPI midweek, and then they played a doubleheader on Saturday against Bowdoin, and then going to Babson on Sunday, which was, I talked about it last week, a little bit bizarre, and it did not pan out well for them. They went 0-3 in those 3 games, so they dropped quite a bit. Still a very good team, but tough losses. Dickinson moves up to number 4. Union and St. Lawrence move up to number 9 and 10, respectively. Union has the edge on St. Lawrence, which they typically do, but that's going to be a great matchup when the time comes. As it stands right now, the top 3 in Division 3 remain the same. Salisbury number 1, Tufts at 2, RIT at 3. I don't really see them going anywhere anytime soon. Tufts does play RIT, though, in the Mustang Classic soon, so that's going to be a great game. But in the top 10, there's 4 Liberty League teams. RIT, RPI, and then Union and St. Lawrence. There are only 2 NESCAC teams in the top 10. Right, so we're starting to see a little bit of separation from the Liberty League here. Not to discount the NESCAC and the talent that they have, because they have a lot of teams in the 10 to 20 range, but Liberty League is looking very strong this year.
Liberty.
Yes. League. So, interested to see how it goes. Couple big games. I'm not going to cover them. We'll hit them next week. But D3 is picking up. NESCAC is forming itself. The Liberty League is forming itself as well. We're going to get into some of those league conference games, and this is going to be a great Division 3 year to follow.
I can't sit still.
Me neither.
I'm sweating over here.
On the edge of my seat.
I did my job then.
Well done, Hades. Now for our 5 games of the week presented by Omaha Steaks. The meat of the week is a filet wrapped, a bacon wrapped filet mignon.
That's my favorite.
It is?
Yeah.
So I had the pleasure of preparing this. It was a pleasure. I mean, that's an understatement.
Tell me about how easy it was.
They have all the instructions on the package. You read the back. You sear it for a couple minutes on one side. You flip it. You throw it in the oven at 300 for about 25 minutes, and then you take it out, and it's
so
in terms of
Chef's
quality,
kiss.
it comes frozen, but is it
Yeah.
high quality?
It's high quality. The portions are great. You could even throw in a couple course meal. You could even throw in some scalloped potatoes if you wanted to.
Those sound good.
Ease free. Omaha Steaks makes it as easy as possible to feed your family, and you can't ask for much more.
So red, a good vet could bring it back to life and get its heart pumping.
Staying alive.
That's how I like mine.
Staying alive. Ha, 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 right in the top.
So red, just like the Big Red, who are at Princeton at 2 o'clock Sunday. on ESPNU. This is going to be an epic Ivy League matchup.
Yeah.
I'm juiced. Like the red of my steak. I'm juicy and juiced. What do you got, Hayden?
Yeah, so Cornell is the big red is 3-2. They're coming off a 20-9 loss against Penn State, which was not close. I know 20-9 isn't that close, but it really wasn't that close. Penn State looked great. Cornell did not look fantastic. They had very high hopes going into the season. They were ranked unanimous number 1 in the preseason Ivy polls for a reason, because all the Ivy coaches thought that Cornell was that much better than every other team in the Ivy League. We're starting to see that may or may not be true. Cornell has 2 losses to Penn State and Denver. Great teams, but with the expectations that Cornell had going into this year, I think that those were games on their schedule that they thought they could have won. The story on Cornell is they're led by C.J. Kirst and Mikey Long at attack, who are 2 of the top goal point scorers in the country, and then a big cohort of middies led by Hugh Kelleher. So they have the talent on offense to play with anybody. Their big question is the defense. They lost Max Adler last year to the PLL. They lost Chase Ireland to the transfer portal, going to Hopkins. They're kind of missing those big names that they've had the last couple of years, and it showed. They let up 20 goals to Penn State. They let up 17 to Denver. They let up 13 to Lehigh. Their defense is not as stout as it has been in years past, and I think they're struggling to win around that. Still winning great games, but what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Cornell this year and what they've shown this far?
Two high school teammates on that Cornell defense, so we believe in them. There's room to improve, but yes, I think you're accurate. Their defense needs to be better if they want to be the best in the Ivy League, which is, like every year, maybe the best conference in college lacrosse.
Do you think they're feeling the repercussions of their goalie, Ireland, transferring to Johns Hopkins? Because he looks like a backbone, I don't know, of Hopkins. Like, do you think that's been a play? Obviously, they have a young defense. Maybe that's the play. Maybe their defense isn't up to par. But, I mean, Princeton has a really good offense. Their attack is lethal. It is both young with 2 freshmen, right? 2 freshmen, and then Coulter Maxey, the veteran, leading that offense. But a lot of talent. They just look like big, athletic dudes who are just so damn good at lacrosse. That's what Princeton looks like.
I really do think them playing at Princeton will be a huge advantage in this game. I just feel like Princeton's don't have a stat, can't tie this to anything. I just feel like when they are at home, they win.
Good venue.
It's a great venue.
Great crowds.
Yes, class of 19-something stadium. Thank you to them.
Princeton's beautiful.
Good colors, clean stadium. Again, if they're filming from the other side, it would be epic.
They won't be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Moving on here. Some other great games of the week. Want to talk about this one, and if you pay attention at all to lacrosse media, everyone was talking about NJIT against Lindenwood last week. We're smarter than everyone, and we know that that was not going to be a contest.
No.
Why are you talking about it? It's Lindenwood.
So last year.
Tech is smacking them, and they did, 18-5. But now they play Vermont, who just beat UMass. I like NJIT in this game, but this is going to be an excellent battle. American East play starts for them, and American East is a mid-major. I think they have some good teams, and whoever comes out of there will be competitive, but this is going to be their first real test of 2024, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that Lindenwood matchup was just, all these lacrosse outlets trying to be funny to some extent, because in previous years, like, those are the 2 worst teams in the country, and now it's kind of flipped.
Funny or genuinely intrigued about watching NJIT win games, because I think everyone in their right mind was like, NJIT's winning this game. Let's let them get to 7-0. Everyone wants to see that. Maybe I want to see them go to 8-0. And I like Vermont. Vermont's an easy team to root for. They just historically they're just a good team. That's a big win over UMass. Like, this would still be a good game even if they didn't beat UMass, just because historically how good Vermont has been, especially in the America East. Mm-hmm. But they just beat the number 20 ranked or whatever poll you're looking at. A great UMass team who lost to Army by 1. it's going to be really fun. And I mean, NJIT has a really good and veteran attack line. I think I've mentioned them before. They're all seniors. Arthur Miller, Garrett Muscatella, and Jack Bowie, 68 points combined. With
Jack Bowie.
Three people, 3 seniors, all leading their offense. I think there was a piece that came out on Arthur Miller and Jack Bowie. They're both like Canadians. I think they played box together, either prior to NJIT or during their time at NJIT, but they have a great connection, and that offense has been getting them to where they need to be to win games.
Yeah, Mike. They're certainly talented, but when you look, like they're 7-0, and that's like the best record in the country. But I think that's sometimes taken out of context, right? They've beaten St. John's, Siena, Mount St. Mary's, Monmouth, Manhattan, Wagner, and Lindenwood. Okay, I mean, who's the best team there? Siena, St. John's, maybe. I don't know, but they haven't played anybody. Vermont is traditionally a pretty big time program. Just a couple years ago, they were top 20. This year, they're looking to crack the top 20. They're a big name, and if NJIT can win this game, this would be the biggest win in program history, no question. So that's why it's one of our games of the week. Because are they really 7-0 because they're that good, or are they 7-0 because they haven't played anybody?
Yeah, just this one's on ESPN Plus. It's at 12 noon, and for whatever it's worth, NJIT, their home broadcast is great.
Oh, yeah.
They have a good stadium, a great setup. They do it the right way. This one's at Vermont, so it might be different. Who knows? A Saturday game. This one's an ACC Network Extra at 1 p.m. Duke at Richmond. Richmond has played Virginia tight. They played Maryland to overtime. You have to expect it's going to be a good game based on what's happened. They've won every other game. Duke dropped to Penn. Who's better between Penn and Richmond? I don't know, but confident this is going to be a great game.
Yeah. You could argue Richmond is better than Penn. I mean, they're just a really good team. They're sitting atop the. I mean, if you look at the A10 right now, especially after UMass has lost to Vermont, they are atop the A10 by far. It feels like a good conference. Richmond is up there. They have the number 1 scoring defense. They have the number 8 scoring offense, and I believe their goalie he's in the top 5 or something for saves per game, but he's playing excellent as well. But I mean, there's a great matchup in this game. I think we need to highlight a defender who I feel like hasn't been talked enough this year, Kenny Brower for Duke. He is a very, very good defenseman. He has the ability to erase an attackman, but he's covering Dalton Young, who is another underrated player in the Division I landscape, who I feel like is not talked about enough, maybe because he isn't in one of those big conferences, the ACC, Ivy League, whatever name we're going to come up with there, Dan. But this is going to be a really, really key, marquee matchup. It's going to be really important for Duke to beat Richmond because Dalton Young leads the team in points, 34 points, 16 goals, 18 assists, a very balanced attack. You got to erase him if you're going to beat this team, and obviously they have Lance Madonna coming out of the box with the LSM. So
shout out Lance Madonna.
Yeah.
First ever guest on the show.
He's an OG. He's an OG gangster.
Yeah. Last
Friend of
other
the
thing,
podcast.
This atmosphere is going to be electric. When Richmond hosted Virginia, I think it was record-breaking attendance. It might have been the second most attended game ever, but they had like over 5,000 people. That entire stands were full, and the camera is facing them, and it's like a double-level stadium. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So Duke's coming to town. This is going to be another packed house. Hopefully the glare on the field isn't as bad as it was against Virginia. Hopefully they figured that out and it's a little more watchable than that one was. But this is going to be a great environment. If I could pick one game to go to this weekend, it might be this one.
Maybe we get Lance on this week. We'll give him a call.
Sure.
We'll see what's going on. Moving on here. A couple more great games. My screen is loading. Google Docs sucks. Harvard at Yale, 1 p.m. Saturday, ESPN Plus. It's always a huge game in football, but Harvard's, after the win against Michigan, Harvard's the real deal. Yale just beat the number 1 team in the country. Huge game.
Yeah, this might be
the biggest.
This might be the biggest matchup between these two teams ever. And they've probably been playing since 1860 or something like that. But I don't know. I don't think Harvard's ever been 6-0. I think it's like their first time in program history that they're even 5-0, let alone 6-0, ranked number 12 or something in the country.
In 1910, they probably went 7-0 when we're national champions or something.
Yeah,
like that.
probably.
Especially at this point of the year. This is the first Ivy League conference game, and you're saying this might be the biggest ever, you'd think that would be later. That'd be a conference championship, or that's a great point. This is a really good game. It's a really good game. Yale beating Denver makes this a really big game. Yeah. Obviously, Harvard 6-0. They just had a big win over Michigan as well, but Yale just beat the number 1 team in the country. They have less games than Harvard does right now, 2 less. So them having that win makes this a really good game.
Yeah, if we see Yale win this game, they could potentially be a top 5 team.
Yeah.
And maybe it seems obscure to think Yale in the top 5, but they were the number 1 team in the country for. They had a long stretch there when they won the national championship. They were the number 1 team in the country, so they have the capability to get back to that.
Sure. There's some DNA there. There's some DNA excellence,
and it kind of goes unnoticed sometimes, just because there's so many other teams. But Yale is really a blue blood of our generation, I would say. I mean, over the last 10 years, they have consistently been a top team in the country almost year in and year out.
You picture Yale when you picture Memorial Day weekend, I'd say, especially for our age, our generation. But a matchup, a very important matchup, I think, to speak about here. Junior attackman Sam King, 36 points on the year. He had 2 goals and 2 assists against the Maize and Blue. He's a very good attackman. And another attackman who might not be highlighted enough, an underrated attackman, somebody who from games I watched, they put him in really good spots in the field, and he is fast, man. He's tough to cover in that high wing. He'll be covered by, assuming, junior defenseman Michael Alexander, first-team Ivy League selection. He won a gold medal with the USA U21 national team as well.
Thinking about it, Harvard had a great win last year at home against Cornell in front of a huge crowd. Mm-hmm. That was a great game, but I think this one at Yale's facility, I think both sides might be packed here. There's a frickin' Jumbotron there. Thanks, Joe Tsai, for exploiting Chinese manufacturing and making that facility what it is.
Thank you, Joe Tsai.
Our last game of the week, and probably the biggest one, this will consume my weekend, certainly. Virginia at Maryland, 3 o'clock Saturday on Big Ten Network, not BTN Plus. You got to check and make sure you have it on your cable provider, but it's Big Ten Network, not BTN Plus, just to repeat. But huge game. We all remember what happened last year at Klockner, which was an awesome game. Rupel was the hero in that one. Won't be out there today unless McNaney has a tough day, but this is going to be an awesome game, as it always is. Juiced.
Yeah. This is a huge game, and don't let the 1-goal win against Brown for Maryland distract you and try to convince you that they're not a top 5 team in the country. We've seen them at their best this year be somewhat unstoppable, playing against Syracuse and some of these other games.
What do you think the spread's going to be? We haven't seen it yet. You'll see this by the time the podcast is out, but I'll guess
Virginia -1.5.
I think it's going to be more than that.
I think it might be more, too.
I think Vegas will read into the Brown thing.
-2.5?
2.5, 3.5. I can see 3 being
I wouldn't. It won't be over. Yeah, it won't be over 4.5.
But I mean, maybe Maryland's in a rut right now because they lost to Notre Dame.
If you call that a rut.
And then they lose. But then the Brown lost, or the Brown overtime win.
Still a win over an Ivy League opponent.
Yeah, but maybe them losing to Notre Dame kind of did something to them.
We watched the presser with Tillman. I think it was Urksa.
Spanos, maybe.
Yeah, I'd never seen them without their helmets on and jerseys, so I don't know who it was. But they it did not look like it looked like they were about to get chewed out in the locker room.
Yeah.
Right after, and that's after beating Brown in overtime, and
that's a championship winning program right there.
That's just winning.
It's a winning program.
They've done that twice this year.
Mm-hmm.
Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland should win that game by 7.
Mm-hmm.
They beat them in overtime. They should beat Brown by 10.
This year, I'd say so.
And they resort on throwing the knockout punch in overtime, to use the words of Eric Holden.
That won't last forever. Your luck will run out. OT's not always luck, but I think that this game is really important to look at. I think we've talked about it before, but it feels like when you play UVA, a lot of times it's a shootout. You got to outscore UVA, right? Maryland is not a team who is outscoring anybody. They're a team that plays good defense, They're winning games in overtime, but they don't put more than 14, 15 goals up. Too often. UVA is the number 5 scoring offense. Maryland has the number 20 scoring defense. Top 20, but I mean, we know that they have guys. Logan McNanny, they have Ajax Apatow. Ajax Apatow will be on Connor Schellenberger, matchup to watch. Vice versa, if we're going to talk the other way. Cole Kastner, our good friend Cole Kastner right then, versus Braden Eskra. Ursa. I always do that. I'm sorry, buddy. But yes, 2 good matchups to watch, and definitely UVA offense versus Maryland defense. Yeah. Probably the most important matchup of all.
Yeah. I'll let you go ahead. And Zap's a different matchup than a lot of the ones he has had, like a Kavanaugh. It's just pure athleticism, and it's going to be a fun clash.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing with Virginia is they have so much depth, and like every game, obviously Cormier and Schellenberger do most of the scoring, and Millen too, but they have guys all over the field that contribute, like Boyden and Griffin Schutz, who's a guy who we haven't talked about, but he is like a beast for Virginia.
Athlete.
So they have guys all over the field that all can step up and all can be that guy. Maryland, what I've seen from them is they rely very heavily on their guys to perform, right? Like Ajax on the defensive end and McNaney. And then, on offense, like Ursa's kind of running the show and Maliver, and they just don't have as much depth as Virginia. And if those guys, don't show up and lose some of their matchups, Maryland tends to struggle. And I think that's kind of what we saw in that Brown game for Maryland. McNaney didn't have his best game. I don't really know what happened with Ajax, but he doesn't have a marquee matchup in that Brown game, really. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think Virginia is a more complete team this year, but Maryland is Maryland, and they can beat anybody. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I do like Virginia in this one.
I do too.
Yeah, fired up. That one's Saturday, 3 p.m., Big Ten Network. Thank you guys for another great episode and joining us. Keep getting the word out there. Follow us on social, Instagram, Twitter. We need it. Lord knows we need it. We're not making millions yet, so until we're there, help us out. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the game.
Holden getting underneath. Maltz, great catch by Bernhardt. Score!